let's just talk about how I would recommend setting up the study time. It's up to you, of course. You could break it up different ways. But what I did, and that's all I can say for my CPC, is part of my study sessions, stuff we already talked about, right? Terminology, okay? So flashcards are your best friend with terminology, okay? I had a set for myself because that was kind of what I was most nervous about. I felt pretty good about the coding, but the anatomy and stuff like that made me a little nervous. I made like a set for my prefixes, my suffixes, my root words, my directional terms. Like I said, I was joking about being directionally challenged. I'm not kidding. I have terrible spatial ability. You know, my father's an engineer. It skips a generation. I can't even arrange a room. I'm like, no, somebody else do it. So, so stuff like that made me nervous. So I just made all these sets of flashcards. And you know, at that time, my daughter still lived at home. I just made her help me. She can boss kids around. You know, what are you gonna do, right? I feed you, help me.
Yeah, get here now.
but she was happy to do it. But you know, or a friend, or you know, neighbor, or whatever. But just go through them yourself. Make sure you take some time to have someone quiz you, you know, on them. And then I would always spend a little time just kind of reviewing anatomy. Okay. Hopefully, still have some of those books, anatomy books, though if you go like on Amazon, a used book is not very much. Things like that, you just kind of want to have a pretty good idea of those body systems and some basic pathology, like, you know, what are symptoms of diabetes, you know, and stuff like that. It's not like you have to be a clinician, but you're a better coder the stronger you are in those things too. There's going to be maybe 10 questions on terminology, or you know, 10 on anatomy, if even. But in order to read an op report, if they place a patient in the supine position, I need to know what that means, because otherwise I could code it wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
Right, because part of surgical coding sometimes is that surgical approach. If I'm getting a lung biopsy, they could go in this way or they could go in this way, right? So if I don't know if the patient's on their belly or their back, I don't know which way they've gone in, and I might pick the wrong code. Okay, so all that core stuff is going to be important to incorporate into your study sessions. Okay, and then just code. Just code and code and code and code and code and code and code. Practice and practice and practice and practice and practice. If you don't get it right, that's fine. You're practicing. That's what practice is, right? But always, if I missed one, and I'm like, why didn't I get that right? I go back and try to figure out why I didn't get it right. Because some of these codes are different by one word in the description. They've got a paragraph that long, and one word is the difference. You know? So I always go back and go, okay, and make sure I halfway understand why I missed it. Okay? So there's just a lot of little details, but we're going to walk back through the books, and I'm going to give you lots of tips to make sure you're getting to the right spot. Okay? All right. So let's see. Let me pull. I just got my notes on here. I don't really have anything exciting. Let's talk about terminology a little bit. Kaylee wanted to kind of touch on that. It is 10:13. Okay. All right. So steps to learning your terminology is, first of all, you're going to divide it into word parts. So you're going to split it up. You're going to figure out what each part is. And then you're going to put it back together. So you can take it apart, figure out what the parts are, and put it back together. Does that make sense? Okay? All right. So, for example, this is a pretty simple one. We all know this word, appendectomy, right? Don't judge me on my spelling. I'm going to do the best I can. I'll spell check on the board. It's always hard, too, because you're talking, thinking, and writing all in different places, so spelling kind of goes up the wayside. Okay. Appen, what's that? What part of your body is that? I'm getting appendectomy.
Abdomen.
My appendix, right? Okay? If I get an appendectomy, what are they doing to my appendix?
Taking it out.
They're taking it out, ectomy. Okay? Cutting it out. All right? So it's really important. If I don't know what an ectomy is, I don't know what they're doing. An otomy, they're putting like a tube, okay? If I don't know what that is, or a stomy is like a tube, like a colostomy bag, right? If I don't know what a stomy is, I don't know what they're doing. All right? So it's really important to know what those individual parts are so you can take it apart and put it back together. Okay? Okay. Here's another good example. Excuse me. Got it spelled right on here. Okay, dysmenorrhea. So we can split this. We've got prefixes, suffixes, right? Then we've got our root words. Okay, those are all things we need to know to take it apart. And your medical terminology book, whatever, when, you know, that's going to split. All those terminology books are the same. They split it in there. If you don't have it anymore, you can't find it or whatever, find something cheap online, I promise. Okay? Keep it in the bathroom so you can read it in there. I mean, you need to kind of breathe it in here for a while, all right? So here's our prefix, dis, men, orea. This is just like a connecting vowel, so you can say it. Okay? So, is this in your way? Okay, all right. So, dis means bad, right? Dysfunctional. Right? We know these words. We use them every day. We use these word parts all the time. All right? Dis means bad. What do you think meno means? Ladies. Menstruation, right? Meno, menstruation. Okay? Like I said, we use these words. We use these parts of words. Rhea means flow. Diarrhea, right? Okay. Everyone knows what that is. Sorry to be crude, but we all know that word. All right, so I have bad menstrual flow. Dysmenorrhea. Okay? Make sense? Yeah? Let's see. You also probably should make a set of cards. Let's just put this up here. We want our study cards. Here's what I would do: prefixes, suffixes. I would do the root words. I would also do plurals. So how do we pluralize things? Okay, I'll give you some examples. And I would do your directional terms, like what does supination mean? Okay, that probably would be. The nice thing about doing them that way too, if I have them all set out, is, I can study them that way, but then I can start laying them out and making different words and stuff too. You know what I'm saying? And so you can kind of visualize how, like I said, because you gotta kind of take it apart, figure out what it is, and put it back together. Okay. So when I'm talking about plurals, it's just basically how do I pluralize a word? Like vertebra is pluralized vertebrae. So usually A's are AE. I know. It does sink in after a while, I promise. It really does. You're looking doubtful at me, but it's okay. Let's see. Like I said, a lot of these words we know. Oops. Okay. I.e. for why, that kind of stuff. Your terminology book is going to have a little section on plurals. They all do. Okay? So that's just to know how to pluralize things. It's not like it's rocket science, though, but you can still figure out when you read it that it's pluralized. You know what I mean? But that would definitely be something I would add to my bucket. Some common suffixes. This a little closer. These are real common. There's a lot of them. Algia is pain. Edema is swelling. So if I've got like lymphedema, I've got lymphatic swelling. You don't want lymphedema. She knows. No, that's not good. Let's see. Emesis is vomiting. So if I'm vomiting blood, I've got hematis. I can't say it. You say it. I can't say it.
I can't ever say it.
You don't hematemesis or something.
I have
Hematemesis.
hyperemesis.
There you go. Hyperemesis. That's easier to say. Why didn't I use that example? So hyperemesis, like Kate Middleton always has when she's pregnant, right?
I did.
Did you have it?
Horrible. I was in the
Okay.
hospital constantly.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that's just awful.
So hyper means above, right? So that means I'm vomiting a lot if I've got hyperemesis.
Right.
Right? She's got, what is it? It's like gravitas, hyperemesis, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's like,
And then, like, I was said I would look at water and just throw
oh
up.
my
Like,
God.
Wow.
I was, oh my God, it was horrible.
That's just
awful.
evil.
That is
I
awful.
was on a Zofran pump and everything and nothing helped.
A Zofran pump, because Zofran's magical stuff.
It is.
It is, but, wow.
Yeah, when it works.
Yeah, when it works. Okay. Itis is inflammation. You know that, arthritis.
Arthritis.
Right? I got arthro is joint. Okay? So I've got inflammation in my joints. Lith is stone. Right? Okay? So, you'll see that a lot of times, because you can get calcula, in your bladder or your kidney stones, obviously, things like that. So lithotripsy, that's when they're banging those stones apart so you can pass out. Okay? They'll put you in a big bath and knock you out. Stuff. Oma is tumor. So like a lipoma, lipo means fat, liposuction, right? We know what that is.
So a fatty tumor.
It's a fatty tumor. That's right. Raj is bursting forth, which sounds exciting. But if you think like if someone's hemorrhaging, we know what that means, right? Hemo is blood. Raj is bursting forth.
Right.
Bursting blood, right? It's hemorrhage. But you can raj all kinds of fluids out of your body.
Okay.
Okay. You don't really want to, probably. Rhea, we talked about that. That's just book. But I think it's helpful to kind of put these in context of words you already know, that we hear every day. It's language. These are all Greek and Latin terms. Okay? Now, our language is, primarily Germanic in a lot of ways, right? But we have enough of these Greek and Latin terms in our everyday language that we can kind of pick them apart.